Now the time has arrived to grade this weekend and to take a look at UFC Greenville, Bellator London and Bkfc 6. Saturday was a damn hell busy day for combat sports. I didn't sleep all night, to be honest. I was so hyped, man. I mean, from 11:30 Eastern time to, believe it or not, 12 post meridium East time. I was so damn hyped. The UFC put on a card in Greenville SC that largely slipped under the radar after the promotion had to scramble to find the main event before ultimately settling on a featherweight showdown between the Korean zombie Cheng Soon-jung and Renato Moicano, and Bellator also traveled to London for a card that was sort of headlined by a middleweight title match between Gegard Mousasi and Rafael Lovato Jr., which ended in a 5-round. Finally, there was so damn much to talk about Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 6 event, which was featured by the main bout between Artem Lobov and retired boxer Paulie Malignaggi. And now let me give a grade, let me say what went well, what went wrong, and now let's go to the greatest positive effects. The GOET, that's the Artem Lobov, ladies and gentlemen. He has never been a top 15 ranked fighter in the UFC, but he also gained a kind of cult following not only as Conor McGregor's teammate and friend, but his willingness to face anyone who was thrown at him, and his wonderful character. He has always been a great man. When Lobov's UFC career came to an end, he then decided to try his hand at bare knuckle boxing before engaging in bloody war with fellow Octagon veteran Jason Knight earlier this year. And also don't forget that Artem Lobov is the man who refunded Michael Manos Johnson for his vain miss. So Artem is just one wonderful man. And that kind of led to the main event at Bkfc 6. Lobov squared off against former boxing champ Paulie Malignaggi in the most talked about fight this past weekend, and the rivalry was damn heated. It actually didn't start between them because Conor McGregor, or should I say Conor McHorse, you know what he did to Paulie Malignaggi when the two were preparing for Floyd Mayweather match in 2017. The brief relationship as training partners, it kinda ended in hostility, claiming McGregor he got better of Malignaggi, and the retired boxer turned Showtime analyst rebutting but saying it was all a web of lies, and Conor kinda, rocked him with that punch, sent him to the canvas. Malignaggi challenged him to tell the whole tale, and with McGregor under contract to the UFC, there was no way Malignaggi was ever going to get that fight, so instead he turned his attention towards his teammate Artem Lobov in a chance to hurt him in a bare knuckle match. It was expected that Malignaggi's boxing skills would be too much for a brawler and for a, let's say, bully like Lobov, whose best defense in past fights seemed to be ability to eat a punch and keep coming forward. But over 5 rounds, Malignaggi tried desperately to outbox Lobov, but his feints and head speed didn't do much damage and his cardio sucked. In return, Lobov was constantly chasing him around the ring, and he even caught Malignaggi in a clinch and cut him open with a strong punch. The New York native was cut open with several gashes on his face, including one damn gaping hole just over his right eye, and his eyebrow looked pretty much nasty. And when it was all over, Lobov kinda slipped through with a unanimous decision win, a result nearly no one was predicting, a major upset, and he closed the door on the rivalry with Malignaggi once and for all, for a guy who was barely, let's say, average fighter in the world of mixed martial arts, who was having a score of wins, losses pretty much equal. Lobov has seemingly found his niche in bare knuckle boxing, and with far more attention being paid to him now than ever before. Also, Renato Moicano got zombified, ladies and gentlemen. This was his second KO And Renato Moicano went for a right punch, but Zombie, he kind of slipped to the right and delivered big, weaving overhand right. Jung has long been considered one of the most exciting fighters in the roster. His 7 post-fight bonuses back that up, but he's also constantly threatening to become a serious contender in the featherweight division, but he had his career derailed twice in recent years with mandatory military service in his native South Korea and then blowing out his knee in his first fight back in 12-17. The win over Moicano puts Cheng Sung-jung right back into contention. He quickly called for another fight that would put him closer to an eventual title shot, and the thing about Cheng Sung-jung that makes him such a threat is not only a legitimate skill set that gives him a chance to beat anybody in the featherweight division, but a crowd-pleasing style that will always land him marquee matchups, his zombie fight style, the way he goes forward, eats punches, eats damage, handles everything. He's like Tony Ferguson or Donald Cowboy Cerrone for featherweight, man. Win, lose or draw, you know it's going to be damn fucking entertaining to watch. It's kinda Donald the Cowboy Cerrone, with Max Holloway tied up with Frankie Edgar in July, then presumably the winner marching into face of Alexander Volkanovski. Jung can kinda inject himself into several interesting matchups to solidify his spot, and Jeremy Stevens could be a good way to kick off his next match, or maybe even Zabit, I don't know. But Rafael Lovato Jr., well, he is not a prospect anymore. I think. I thought he was just one undefeated guy. He deserved his shot at Bellator middleweight title. Even hardly anyone believed he'd actually win it, but the BJJ black belt was undefeated in his career. But his wins in Bellator, you know, while impressive, it didn't exactly come against excellent fighters' gold standard of opposition. Instead, Lovato racked up 5 straight wins in Bellator fights that he would probably supposed to win. I mean, before being thrown down into the fire against a veteran like Jagar Musashi, who could have easily staked a claim as the best fighter in the world that won 8-5, and over the course of 5 rounds, Lovato actually showed that he can parry Musashi's skills. Musashi's striking, Musashi's grappling, his hands. I mean, he showed a strong ground game coupled with enough striking that kept Musashi off balance over all 5 rounds. It was definitely a close fight, but in the end, Lovato, he kinda earned the majority decision to become the later middleweight champ, and Lovato, he might not get too much time to celebrate, because it's entirely possible that he'll be facing Musashi in a rematch after such a closely contested battle, but make no mistake, his feat this past proved that he is absolutely legitimate threat to anybody and every single opponent in the middleweight division. But there were few fails too, like, it seems so long, I mean, come on guys, what happens with your broadcasting? I mean, come on, some bouts were unaired. It seems like so long ago that tennis sport was actually tape delayed for broadcasts taking place overseas, with the primary audience in the United States. But the UFC ran into them fucking headache when they were just getting started with Spike TV while holding cards in international locations like England. But over time they realized that not airing something live was just a disaster waiting to happen, with results getting out there, not to mention bootleg streams popping up all over the damn fucking place. And unfortunately, Bellator MMA still can't seem to figure out the best way to broadcast a card whenever they travel overseas, particularly with shows in England and or Ireland. And why are you fucking doing this? You didn't let me look Fabian Edwards, you bastards! I wanted to look that bout so badly. I wanted Melvin Manhoff. But you didn't let me look at them. Come on, man, I said Fabian Edwards is the best, one of the best prospects ever. And you didn't let me look at him. I wanted to look at him bout live. I even downloaded the Bellator app. For what? For you to eat shit? I mean, come on. This past weekend was an unmitigated disaster with a string of fights airing on the Bellator app, including the 3-fight main card that featured the Musashi vs. Lovato title fight and the rest of the featured bouts, including Paul Daly facing off with Eric Silva, were tape delayed and broadcast later that night on both the Paramount Network and DASN. Shit, man. Now, it's not uncommon to split a broadcast between two outlets, but then when you throw in tape delayed cards in the middle of everything, it just becomes confusing, you know. It's unclear why Bellator still struggles with these broadcasts when putting on cards overseas, but you'd imagine they'd have it figured out by now. I mean, I wanted to watch Fabian Edwards, you morons. I wanted that so much. And hopefully that will get rectified in the future, because Bellator has put on some great fights in places like England and Ireland in the past. It's just too bad hardly anyone in the United States knows when or how to watch them. I mean, guys, work on it, please. I want to watch that bouts. I mean, come on, why am I downloading the damn app? I downloaded it. And an epic fail. Paulie Malignaggi sucked. Yeah. He retired from boxing in 2017, yet he's a name in the headlines, you know, non-stop for the past 2 years thanks to a 12-round sparring session with Conor McHorse. While brief clips have been shown of that sparring session along with some photos, only a few people at the gym that night actually witnessed what happened between McGregor and Malignaggi, and the maelstrom of controversy that followed that sparring session eventually led to the bare-knuckle boxing match between Malignaggi and Lobo this past Saturday night. And in the lead-up to the fight, Malignaggi slapped Lobo, spat on Conor McGregor's mural, spit on Lobo, even promised to do serious bodily harm to him. I mean, he promised he'll torture him to death literally once they finally started throwing hands. But he was unable to back up his damn trash talk, because the result wasn't nearly what was promised. Although Malignaggi didn't look bad as he tried to outbox Lobo for 5 rounds. But in fact, by boxing standards, Malignaggi actually had a solid night as he used the lead jab and the good head movement to frustrate Lobo. For the majority of the fight, sadly, that wasn't enough to get the job done in a bare-knuckle brawl. Because, you know, there is one thing, you know, you can hold the opponent and clinch him and deliver strikes of the clinch, but the referee didn't let Artem Lobo do that, and I don't know why. I mean, according to rules, as much as I know, this is allowed. And Lobo, he was boosting up the retired boxer with the few punches he did land, including one giant gash that opened up over Malignaggi's right eye. And when everything was over, Lobo and Malignaggi, they actually hugged it out and even high-fived at the end of the post-fight press conference ended that feud, and sure, Malignaggi complained about the decision while feeling like he did enough to win, but ultimately he did homage to Lobo on a job well done, and while showing respect to the former UFC fighter. I just don't know, Lobo did nothing here. I don't even know why were you touching Lobo, you moron. Lobo did nothing to you, dumbass. And with that, Malignaggi said his fighting career is finished and he's returning to the broadcast booth, where he's actually a very good analyst for Showtime Boxing. This will hopefully also close the door on whatever strange rivalry was built between Malignaggi and McGregor, not to mention the rest of the MMA community. And Malignaggi was headlined fodder for the better part of 2 years, because he was constantly barking at Conor McGregor, and the former 2 division champion definitively did whatever he was able to keep that rivalry alive with his verbal jabs, fiery responses, and some horsing. I mean, he only Conor McGregor's horsing. But in the end, it seems Artem Lobov ended this. The culmination of that rivalry was a kind of bare-knuckle boxing match between Malignaggi and McGregor's teammate, but Artem Lobov had to correct Conor's error. Because, you know, horses always make shit, you know, and I just don't get why he had to make such a shit. I mean, why, man? Why are you doing such things after all? I mean, Artem Lobov is a good man. Artem Lobov has a soul. Artem Lobov is a wonderful man, but you're just a chump. The match between Malignaggi and Artem Lobov, well, it may not silence the New York native now that it's over, but hopefully the rest of us, well, we might move on to more pressing matters. And to sum it up, let's say, everything summarized, it was a wonderful weekend, it was a great weekend, and man, I was hyped for 12 hours. But Bellator, I can't forgive you for not letting me watch Fabian Edwards, because I barely watched that fight. I was waiting for it. I was barely waiting for the moment where he'll KO or outpoint Jonathan Bosuku, but you didn't let me do this.